Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic weekend. We're going to take a look, of course, here at Terra Classic once more. Help you understand the big picture and best practice. And as I've been anticipating, just to kind of preface here, the price has been going down as expected. And the main reason why is because it has a lot of bearish signs. And those are things I want to kind of help point out to you here today. If you want to become a better trader, though, just keep this in mind. I'm not a financial advisor, but I've been trading for over 17 years now, and I have a trading university that I like to provide, as a good resource for a lot of my members. So I also have a community as well. We all learn and grow together. Open, dynamic environment there, and furthermore, keep this in mind, also have a trading signals group too. So I send out signals for every single trade that I take, and lately we've been taking some massive profits yesterday with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and of course BNB as well. So those are all things that you can have access to if you would like to have, if you're interested in those results, of course, go ahead and message me. I can go ahead and forward that over to you. But that's all done through Cornix. It's an automated trading system. Last but not least, too, is of course highly recommend using this exchange BitGet. They are fantastic. I've been using them for a few months, and I tell you what, they put BitGet and KuCoin out of not out of business by any means, but I think they do much better, and they're just a very good exchange to use. Not to mention you get a pretty decent amount of bonus USDT if you transfer funds over and trade with them. Okay, so let me know again if you have questions regarding that. I can absolutely get you some details, but use the link in the description below before November 30th, and you'd essentially qualify for that. All right, so taking a look here at Terra Classic, it's pretty straightforward in the sense of why it's coming down. First of all, we lost 50 on the RSI. That's a big indicator. That's a key level support that we no longer have. Doesn't mean it might not become a support level later. It just implies that it's a key level resistance now, right? Recall, we had a nice support level that held for a little while at 28,000 for probably about 5 or 6 trading days. Once we lost 28,000, we lost 50 on the RSI. Big surprise, previous resistance turned support, turned resistance now that we've broken 50 on the RSI. So those are all things you want to try to pay attention to, and those are the warning signs I've been trying to give you. So if you're listening to some other folks out there that are telling you it's going to pump tomorrow, they probably don't know anything about technical analysis, and that's perfectly fine. They're probably more fundamentals, and that does factor in too, don't get me wrong. But ever since the quote-unquote burn, the price action has essentially came down quite significantly. It may not seem like a lot, but it's roughly about 25%, and if you go to the very bottom, closer to 30% for that candle wick from yesterday. So just some things you kind of want to recognize. The proof is in the pudding, or the lines are in the sand. I don't know what kind of analogy we can provide here, but as I prefaced yesterday, we were on the edge of a cliff and about to fall off. I think we're soon to see, I wouldn't say a dramatic decrease, but absolutely a slow bleed down to about 16,000 as potential. And keep in mind, 16,000 was a previous resistance level back in June when the price for Terra Classic maxed out. Okay, that's roughly, again, I'm ballparking here, it's closer to 16,500. But the reason why it is important to recognize that will likely be a support level, or that we might actually see that happen, is because the volume profile. Take a look at how much volume is accumulated in this zone. Obviously it helps to zoom in so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here, but take a look at this. So you can see obviously we've got a tremendous amount of volume right here. Right? That's where the price has been accumulating the most, of course, and that's where we're at, but we're on the bottom spectrum of that area there. And if you look at this here, you can see this strong red line. That's right where we have the most amount of volume in the last, just say, 2 months of trading. So in this regard, if we see 2 months of trading all accumulating at one area, when the price action is below that, that works as a resistance level, okay? Because that's going to be more selling pressure when we get to that level, if the price were to come back. Okay, so again, unless you have some kind of massive short squeeze, there's no reason for the price to want to go above that now. Okay, so again, that's just something to kind of recognize and understand. The second most important thing also is this big old gap here. You see how much volume is accumulated between 16,000 and 24,000? It's hardly anything at all. We're going to fill that gap. It's a strong likelihood to see that. Okay, so again, just keep that in mind. That's essentially where we're at there. We could reverse these fibs really quick and kind of get a perspective on supports, and as you can see, the next support for Fibonacci, the 1.272, is right there at about the 15,000 range. Okay, so this is going to be a nice support channel. Keep that in mind. Between 13 and 16,000 is a close approximate. but just note, it seems more likely to hit that level than it would be for the price action to shoot up from here. Okay, not to say that we can't find a bottom here, but it's not getting any better, right? Okay, so again, those are all just little things to look at. The daily looks terrible. Let's take a look at the moving averages. The one little saving grace we do have here is that we have a 50-day simple moving average that is effectively working its way up to right around 21,000. Now, in its past, the 50-day simple moving average is fairly new, right? Because this coin hasn't been around for a very long time. So in that sense, we can't really rely on past data to understand if that's going to work as a support level, but traditionally, the 50-day simple moving average is a fairly strong support level, okay, in most cases. So again, it's not dire straits, but I would say that's our last-ditch effort before we see a drop below that, if it even holds, okay? So again, you don't want to put all of your, everything into just one one indicator. You want to kind of get a big picture perspective, which is why we look at different time frames and extract information from each. The very last thing to touch on here is TD sequential, and we can see we're down to a 2 on TD sequential. So hypothetically, again, this isn't foolproof. We could very well see 7 more days of bearish divergence. Okay. The reason why that's a possibility is, first of all, we lost 50 on the RSI, and obviously when we have a sequence of numbers, 9 is usually the max. Again, it broke through that 9 previously to go into extreme overtime, which is why the price sold off. I've been warning this for a very long time, that the price can only go up for so long. And it's all well and good that everyone else is telling you to put money in, but based on the technical analysis, there is no reason to want to invest in this right now unless you're dollar cost averaging and adding to your position as the price goes down. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that you're kind of kind of fighting an uphill battle right now. Okay, so again, you can see how many times it's retested this level at 24,000. We have another retest twice in the last 24 hours. That is not good. The more often you test a support level, the more likely it is to break. Okay. So that's essentially what's happening right now. So in that regard, not great. We lost a 200-day simple moving average as well on the 4-hour. Extremely disadvantageous. We can see RSI at 30 is being soon to be tested. So in that regard, with it being potentially tested here, we can see that there may be a bounce, but it also may continue further. The likelihood of the price action just dropping like a rock from here is pretty low. I feel like we're more so likely going to see a slow bleed out, or we continue to see lower lows and lower highs. That just seems like a probability at this point. And the thing that I kind of like is just the fact that on the 4-hour we are fairly exhaustive to the downside, and 30 can typically work as a pretty nice support level. You can see it's worked very well in the past. So we do have that going for us. But I wouldn't put it past the whales. They'll get together and they're going to have a good time, and they're going to drop the price action and buy it in at a lower rate. That's what they do consistently. You just got to be aware of it. So again, you can see this was originally starting to dissipate, and now it's starting to pick up momentum to the downside. So mostly, I would say this is fairly like the 4-hour time frame gives us conflicting information, but there's really no doubt that it's mostly bearish, minus the fact that we're overextended to the downside. We take a look at TD sequential. We did hit a 9 recently, so keep this in mind. That is nice. You typically experience a pullback, which there was one. It was just very brief. Came up to reject off the 200-day simple moving average, and of course working its way down. So again, that's what a support turned resistance level will do. Okay, so again, 4-hour time frame doesn't look fantastic either. Let's see if the 1-hour gives us any indication. We recently hit we hit a 7, got a little reset, came up, back down to an 8, and now we're down to a 4. So hypothetically, again, there's no guarantee on this, but there could be 5 more hours of bearish divergence before we see the next leg up. And when I say leg up, I'm not talking about a significant push. The next leg up will have to break this area here, right at this 25,700 range, to essentially be able to get us a new higher high, and that would break the trend. We also need to have a new higher low as well. And that's the first thing you want to look for in trend reversal. Again, I teach all this in my trading university, but at this point, I can recommend that we do a better job as traders and not be naive, right? Most things are pointing down at this point. And I know it seems kind of crazy, like how much lower can it go? It's got to be at its bottom, right? No, absolutely not. I would say the bottom would be more likely the 13 to 16,000 range. Shouldn't go much lower than that, just based on previous volume accumulation at that level. Right now we have a significant gap between 16 and 24, and I can tell you it feels like it wants to be filled here soon. Okay, so again, just try not to be naive in your trading. It's one thing to dollar cost average and to believe in the big picture. That's okay if you do that, but just be mindful of how, when you're trading, especially if you're buying and selling consistently. I have a lot of traders that have gotten, have had some difficulty, more so my subscribers on YouTube, not necessarily my community members, because I recommend my community members don't even touch this coin. And again, it just depends on what you want to do with it. Long-term investing, that's up to you, perfectly fine. But I don't want you to day trade the heck out of this, because even though it's fairly consistent, it's still extremely volatile. And I don't really like to trade coins like that. Either way, regardless of that fact, just be careful and cautious. Let's go ahead and wrap this up here. Sorry, getting a little wordy. We can see that we basically have all green lights for a short position. So we've tentatively lost this support level here, right, at 24,000. And I say tentative because, of course, when you break a support or resistance level, it has to come back to retest. So what we'll likely see is a retest of that level and a rejection to the downside. And the reason why I believe that is because the conversion line is below the baseline, or below the cloud, and the lagging span is free and clear of price action. So if you're curious about how the Ichimoku cloud works, I have a video that's available in my library. It's on my playlist, if I'm not mistaken. And you should learn how to use it. It's a very conservative indicator, but it helps give you indications of what direction things are going. And right now, the direction is down for Terra Classic. Could it recover this weekend? Yes, absolutely. All the regular markets are closed. In fact, that would make sense for it to try to recover, because of the fact that there's a lot less manipulation with Bitcoin and a handful of other coins too that kind of adjust the Bitcoin dominant scale. That being said, though, Terra Classic, probably definitely a no-go for a long position. I would say a short is much more appropriate, again, just based on the indications that we see here so far. All right, so again, potential of 5 more hours to the downside, and even greater, 7 more days of downside potential. Okay, so short term, we're looking at a small pullback. Long term, I think it's going to continue lower. It's just kind of the speculation here based on the data that we have here so far. So I hope that this made sense and I clarified this correctly. Watch it again if you need to. I get a lot of questions on this coin, of course, if it's a good investment. I choose not to answer that because it's really up to you. Just because I don't want to invest in something doesn't mean you shouldn't either. You can do what you'd like. Just be very careful if you're day trading or swing trading this guy, because it's not looking great right now. Okay. All right. Well, I hope that you learned something. Thank you so much for joining me. You want to become a better trader? Again, cryptocash.tech is a site. Link in the description below. I've got a lot of new members migrating over. It's really nice to see some fresh new faces there and get to know you better. I look forward to working with you. You have yourself a great rest of your day.